And hello, everybody. It is a Tuesday. It is here on MMO Buff that we bring the campfire, and someone just whacked their microphone, so we just got to hear a lovely whacking noise. But you know, that happens. We have an interesting show for you today on the campfire. We have our special guest, Falu, who is also pronounced Foghladha, depending upon who he is and who you want him to be that day, I guess. And I am joined, as always, by the lovely Screenager.
Hello.
Who unfortunately is not going to be trolled by anyone but his cat today. And we are also joined by the amazing Blank Space.
Hello, folks. Oh, and it's Folu, by the way.
Falu.
No, I'm saying it right. You're saying it wrong. Am I right?
Am I wrong?
It sounds good to me.
He hasn't agreed with either side of things already.
They're already throwing me in the middle, trying to get me under that bus.
Hey, it's a good bus to be under. It's driven by Screen. It's a London bus. Double decker.
I would know.
Double decker. Big red one.
Double decker. That means something different here in the UK.
It does?
Chocolate bar.
Never heard of it.
Oh.
Holy shitballs, you've not heard of a double decker.
I haven't heard of a double decker, no.
I've heard of an upper decker.
Everyone. How long have you lived in the UK and you've never heard of it? I am mailing you a double decker. Miss, if you're watching, have a double decker ready for when she gets to the studio. That does not sound right if you don't know what a double decker is.
Yeah, I want to open that box. Do not open that box.
I've had crazy
Give it to your
things.
neighbor.
See, that's the thing. I'll be curious now come Thursday when I actually go into the studios, because I'm at the studios every Thursday for the data mine. I'll be curious to see if there will be a double-decker waiting. I did, however, this past weekend have an amazing handmade beef Wellington. It was gorgeous. But yes, that has nothing to do.
Just for the purposes of education, I will be putting this in the chat in a couple of moments, just so people can see what a double decker actually is. It is completely safe for work.
Yeah, don't Google it. I guarantee you, don't Google it.
Don't Google double decker. Great
It's
advice.
not a potato. It's a tatty.
We're already starting with incredibly crazy advice for people. Don't Google double decker, which means every single one of our people is now going to be Googling double decker.
I'm doing it right now.
Oh dear. But yes,
Doesn't wash out.
As you can tell, we're joined by somebody who had joined us from episode 16. No, Dan, we're not talking about buses. Sorry, Gwyn's just passed me his phone, and on it was a picture of a double decker, a bus, where you guys are talking about chocolate, I think. And he just went, oh.
Well,
That's not what I'm talking about.
Swiftly crashing forward.
I'm gonna stick with the chocolate.
Holy cow. Wow. All right. So today we are all going to be doing all kinds of crazy stuff, including talking about change. Now, normally when we have our guests, we grill them, but we've already done this more information with the lovely Ben that we've had before. So we're not going to put him through it. Instead, we're going to dig immediately into the topic du jour. And it's all about food today on MMO Buffet. So.
Oh, that was quite a good pun, actually.
Very funny.
Thank you.
Very funny, in fact.
A huge, by the way, thank you to everyone who has shown up. And we already have people putting pictures up of double deckers. It's just crazy. But yes, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pick on you, Foghladha. Falu.
Okay.
Falu. I'm going to pick on you mainly because of the fact that I gave you a couple of choices of topics and you're like, let's go with this. I'm like, sounds like a brilliant idea, especially considering we've talked about how to handle guilds pre-launch, during launch, post-launch. But now we're looking at it from the perspective of when do you as a community decide to sunset on a game? How do you do it? When do you make that decision? Why do you make that decision? And the problems that are inherent with that. So let's start off with you and some of the things that you might want to say on that. And then we'll pick on everybody.
Okay, well, the first thing that anyone that runs a guild needs to think about is what is your core principles and focus. I mean, if you're there to raid and your raiding crew is still strong, keep on going. If you're enjoying yourself, keep on going. But if your community is built around kind of entertaining the public, like Gosh, yeah, for example, we focus on entertaining crowds. And if there's no crowds left to entertain, it's time to move on. So it's really depends on what your core values are and what your principle is. What do you stand for? What is your role in the game? So I think really that's kind of the biggest thing. You really got to put it in perspective. For me,
I was going to say, you should check out Kasira's comment in chat. Kasira says, we sunset on the game when we notice that suddenly no one's logged in for weeks. How do you not notice that over time? That's a sudden, suddenly nobody has shown up.
I mean, I could share one experience that we had. We were in Warhammer Online for about 3 years, and we were trying to tough it out. We were, patch after patch after patch. Mythic and EA were pulling content out and totally reinventing the game. And every time that they did that, we'd lose more and more people. Well, by the time that we finally decided, it's time for us to move on, it was a little too late. We only had probably maybe about 100 people left out of a community that was over 1,000 people at one point. So it's really, when you jump games with 100 people, you're going to lose half of those people just jumping games. Anytime that you change games, you're going to lose people. That's unavoidable. But you really got to kind of measure what it is you're after. What do you want to do? What is your role in the game? And if there's something better out there, or at least perceptively better, and you feel that you make that jump, you keep half your people, or if not more, then it's a good thing to go, examine that option and look at it, evaluate it, build up a, what we did with Dashki is build a matrix that shows what we're looking for in a game, and then we score games based on it, and then. I mean, once you get into the game, it's kind of like, does this game suck, or do you like playing it? How does it keep your attention? If people are losing attention after playing for 4 hours, it might not be the game for you.
Right. So what thoughts do you have, Screen? You have, when it comes to Afterlife Gaming. Afterlife Gaming has multiple games that it's been involved in. It pulls in some, leaves others. What is it that you look for criteria-wise? Is it sort of the same thing, or do you have extra things that you look for? Or is it more just, we hear people saying they want to do this? Like, for example, we have a new game coming up, Arcade. There are a lot of people who are really interested in playing this. I've heard you mention it. I've heard Blank mention it.
No, Blank's not playing that.
Dude, I've been playing. I'm hipstering. I played it before you.
You played. You're just like, man, I played it before it got out of Korea.
Dude, I was playing it before. Yeah, it was crazy.
Is all the symbols just like everywhere, trying to work out the English language back?
It's actually kind of funny because in the new port that they just did, like, some things are still messed up, and you're like, I don't know what this means, so I'm just gonna run around and hope that something
And that is the criteria he uses for a new game. Now, criteria that we use in terms of when we look to sunset on a game generally tends to be, honestly, the amount of players that log into a game will generally tend to tell you when it's time to reevaluate your status. We have a more formalised process when it comes to actually sitting down and evaluating the status of the guild within the game. But I generally tend to do it on a gut call in terms of when kind of the trigger point is. Because generally you feel it being in a situation where you're supposed to be at the head of a guild. If you built a guild or community that you're in touch with the roots of that guild, then you're going to get that feedback. You're going to see that people aren't logging in. You're going to find that trying to, for example, we run games where we tend to do large scale group content. Well, that's what we prefer to do. When we get to a situation where doing large scale group content is difficult because people don't log in, or people don't enjoy it, or people don't feel that it's really worth the while, then it kind of starts ringing alarm bells, at which point you have to sit down and start kind of kicking off your evaluation process. You have to then at that stage look at, from our point of view, we'll have a guild meeting usually. We will usually tend to make an attempt to see if there's any particular reason for the turnout and the low turnout, or the fact that people aren't having fun. See if we can rearrange the way we play the game or the way we approach it. Generally, though, what tends to happen is that will maybe move things on for a kind of medium-term length of time. Mm-hmm. But you generally tend to find if the game itself doesn't provide mechanics or content that's put out there to keep players and keep things fresh, then if the situation doesn't change, then you'll see things start to kind of degrade back to the same situation, at which point you then have to start working on your exit strategy, and that's a whole different scenario. So long story short, it's not really so much about having set criteria that we hit for evaluating it, it's about having the evaluation process when we feel that we're getting that feedback that people aren't enjoying the game.
Okay, well, I'm going to throw an interesting one for you, Blank. Okay. As individual players, we all have the type of games that we're interested in, and when we go in to join a community, we find ourselves, it's easier to make a decision just for yourself than it is to, say, make it for an entire community. For you, what would you look for in a game to give you warning signs that something is not quite right? Because if you have plans in place, I mean, if you run a community, and we're talking the communities that have multiple games that they play, you're not just a guild focused on, say, one game. There's an awful lot more, I should say, breadth to the stuff that you have to look for. And having an exit strategy is brilliant. We can tackle the exit strategy after this, but having that exit strategy needs to start with some kind of warning sign. I mean, what would you look for?
Oh, man, I hope certain people don't watch us on YouTube. The first one...
Remember, this is not a message to developers, this is about in your community.
Yeah, this is about the community.
when you... But I mean, a lot of that also goes hand in hand. When you hear from people complaining about the same sort of things, that's a red flag. When your main PvPers are coming out of arena matches and they're upset. This sucks. Why? Because of this. Matchmaking. Okay. And it's not just one group. And these are your most hardcore, most loyal, they love it people. When people love a section of a game and can no longer enjoy it, and you hear it, that's one of those, like, little boys running around the kitchen with the red flag, does anybody see it? It's not till later on does it change to people stop logging in, people stop, they leave that one big post of get bent, I'm out, whether it's on official forums or internal forums. When you see those people, and myself included, go from super excited about certain things to that's when you go from the kid with the red flag to the bull in the china shop wearing all red, just trying to smash himself, running around in circles. And the last part is literally when you start, attrition starts happening in front of your face, where people are just like, well, this is stupid. I'm not staying here. And you either redirect them, within your own community, or find out where they want to go, what they want to do, or the next big thing. God bless the treadmill we have for games now. Or they just walk away. I mean, I can tell you there's a bunch of, especially in MMOs, people literally just walk away nowadays. I'm done. Goodbye. I'm playing Hearthstone. Kiss my butt. Done.
Okay. Now, see, this is the thing. You mentioned, Ben, in specific, you mentioned the fact that when you have any kind of transition from a game at sunset, you're automatically going to have your own form of attrition. You're going to lose members. Yep. That's just a natural way to handle it. So when it comes to building the exit strategy to keep your community strong, to keep your, guild going, or even to make a transition to a new game, even if it's just we're going to stop the heavy focus on the one guild or game that we're looking at right now, we're going to say goodbye to that, but we still want to stick around as a community. I mean, what advice would you have? I mean, where would you start with that kind of a strategy? Because it's one thing to say, no one log in, cancel your subscriptions, or stop logging in, close the account, we're not going to be playing it anymore. But that's not where it ends when it comes to communities, or at least, in my opinion, it shouldn't. But I could be wrong there.
Yeah, with Koshki, we have a pretty strong dead stop. When we leave a game, we literally pull the plug, remove the guild altogether. And that's mainly just to protect our reputation, because we don't know who's going to potentially get that guild, and we don't want some troll running around with their guild name. So if we don't have people to moderate our name, we will you'll just totally pull the plug. So, but one of the things that you really got to do is kind of look at your guild and what you guys enjoy doing, and build yourself a little spreadsheet and say, these are the things that we want in a game. These are like the optimal settings of the game that we want to play. And then you start looking at the games that are available on the market, or that are coming to market, and you got to kind of just build a matrix of sorts that says, this game has this many of these features that we want. This game has this many, and then you can score them against each other. And then if you can get into an alpha or a beta, it would really help a lot, because then you can actually play the game. Because a lot of times games look great, the feature list is outstanding, but as soon as you start playing it, you can realize right away this is not what I thought it was going to be. And I think a lot of gamers out there know exactly what that feeling is. And that moment when you log into a game and go, whoa, this is not the feature list. And you kind of just got to wait on that. I mean, really, you got to find that potential ship to jump to before you leave the first one. Otherwise, you're going to just completely be out in the wind. And whenever you're out in the wind, you'll lose a lot more than 50% of your community. So it's really kind of getting that next on deck, that target game set, so that you can tell people, hey, we're going to be going to this. This is when we're going to do it. This is how we're going to do it. And then when it comes time, you just make that transition as smoothly as you can. Make sure that everyone knows what's going on. So send community-wide emails. Just put them in the newsletters. Stick them on your website. Do whatever you can to let people know, hey, this is what we're doing. If you want to stay in this game, great. But this is where our community is going to change focus. And that will really aid it or help alleviate a lot of the turmoil that you'll have otherwise.
Now I'm going to answer a quick question that's come from Kami in our chat room. Our poor Kami, every time she joins one of our shows, she's like, I don't understand what you're saying at all. She's asked, if you're in a guild and they decide that, oh, we're moving from this game now, does everyone have to buy the game? Do they get kicked out? What are the rules on this? And I'm going to let you know, when it comes to guilds and communities, every guild is different. There are some that the moment they decide to leave a game, the entire group disperses and no one ever talks to each other again. There are some games or some guilds where they make the change and they decide to just hang out in one central place and voice comms and have a website, but no real solid singletary game. There are others that are like communities, such as, say, Viking Nation or Afterlife. Even Goshka is the same way, that have multiple games. So it's not just, hey, we don't have a game we can play together for our social activities. There are games you can participate in. It may not be the one you want to be in. There are also going to be some where they say, hey, we're going to make a transition to a game, but if you don't buy the game, you're not going to be in guild. Everyone is different, which is why it really does sit on everyone's shoulder to do their research, to understand the communities they're looking to join, to understand the communities that they are looking to be a part of, and even make transitions too. Because it can be that easy or that not so easy. But yes. So I'm now going to bring another type of change to the foray.
No.
The reason why is because it relates to what he just said. Go ahead, say your piece, Blink. Get it in there.
I just want to throw out there, there is another part of this, and I didn't see it on the notes, and I just thought of it. Can we discuss potential? Because I know there are games that I stick with. Well, I'll say WildStar right now because of the potential. Now, I'm interested to hear from you guys. Where are you? Because that is a very subjective, very weak gray line. And for me, I'm very good. I feel like I'm a great judge of potential, whether it's in games, development companies, people, whatever. And when I look at a game like WildStar, I will tell you right now, the reason I still am playing is the potential to change. However, very shortly, let's say in the next 2 months, if things don't meet that hard criteria, I will then be like, goodbye, farewell, Auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. So for you folks, there are other folks that may not have, their criteria is very simple. They didn't fix this, I'm out. So let's take it back. Where is that subjective line, that touchy-feely line where you're just like, not the hard one, like we lost 50%, we're out, but this game is, they didn't fix this in time. They didn't do this in time. I didn't get this from it. They didn't give the downloadable content when they say they were. Where are those lines for you guys? Because I'm interested to hear.
Well, first of all, I'd like to know if your exit strategy includes a rendition of The Sound of Music. Secondly...
Yep. Wearing nothing but this.
Nice.
Put it back. We don't need to have that on this show. We already have someone in chat, aka Aklik, who's like touching it So let's leave it at that.
Man. Secondly, that's what I was saying from my perspective. It's everyone's different, but from my perspective, that's why I was saying the focus is less for us on metrics and feedback and those hard lines. It's more about player feedback and then having a good evaluation and exit strategy. Because at the end of the day, it gives us. It means it's more work for me at the end of the day. I don't have systems in place. My officers don't have a system in place that can go. They don't have a matrix in place saying these are here, this is here. It's pure getting feedback from people and then react and then react. And reactive feedback can be bad sometimes because it is reactive. It means that we've got to get up off our bums and we've got to do the work and it's more work for us. But at the same time, we've got an evaluation process in place. I know what steps to go through. What we normally go through, how we're going to exit if we need to exit, and we move from there. So that's why I put the importance on that rather than the criteria, those hard criteria that you're talking about. So we can kind of have that we can have a shift in terms of that. So I can stay with something for potential, so long as the rest of the guild's kind of happy to do so. As long as we've got good lines of communication open, that people are relatively happy to do so. That becomes more difficult as things get bigger. That's why our hard cap of players is usually around 100, because at that point you really, even with officers, you start, I can't tell everyone's name from the ground up. Once you get beyond that, then you most certainly having hard criteria in place will start to become more efficient. But maybe someone else has got an opinion on that.
Well, I'll pipe in here because, when it comes to seeing the potential of a game, in the end, game can have as much potential as it wants for something. But if your community is sitting there going, this is really crap, it's the pulse of the community. Because I've run a guild before where we were heavily involved in one game and we stopped playing even though the potential was there. We waited until what we were wanting to see occur for what our goals were for that guild before we came back. And that's the way that was handled with that situation. In fact, we went to play a different game while we were waiting for those changes to be made. Because, we have some people saying, developers should be making these changes. We've been talking to them since, early at a particular point in time. I don't know what their project plan is. I don't know what their actual resources are. I don't know what the reality is behind getting certain content changes done or anything along those lines. I can't make the judgment call for when something will occur on a potential level. What I can do is just keep my ear to the ground and listen to the people who are around me. If they are really, really unhappy, that's going to boil over and bring that negativity into the community that is being generated by the game. Because all it takes is someone having a really bad experience with, say, a PvE event, and they just really hated it, and they snapped at somebody, which then snapped at somebody else, and it just starts this cascading effect. If that is what's occurring, I'd rather go play a different game while I'm waiting for the things that we're waiting for to appear, and then we can go back and try it again. That's at least how I would look at it. Because in the end, if my community is not happy, there needs to be changes. Is that change sticking with the game, or is that change I need different people, or is that change we just need a different outlet for now until something gets sorted? So when it comes to the gray area, I tend to be a bit more focused on what the community's reaction is to the gray area. If they don't mind waiting around, who cares? We'll wait around and we'll make our own fun out of what games are presented to us. Like so many people do, hey, this is not going to work. Fine. We'll make our own boss type event, and we'll make it some own type of capture the flag event or bacon event or whatever event you want to call it. We can make our own fun if they want to wait. But if not, there are plenty of other games that we can go try and play while we're waiting for that eventual release. What about you, Foghladha?
I think that you pretty much said it bang on. But one thing I would, definitely encourage is if you are jumping from one game to another game to wait for another game to fix what it's doing, be careful, because likely you will lose people doing that. But one of the things that I kind of had a hard realization is that potential is smoke. It's something that we keep telling ourselves to keep us there. 90% of the time, that potential never comes to fruition. I mean, I've seen it with Warhammer. So many things that Warhammer could have done would have been awesome, but they never did. Instead, they were focused on taking things out of the game. Then Rift did the same thing. You know, there was so much potential, and you know, I mean, Port Sion, for example, that was a whole zone that was supposed to be RVR, and it never came to fruition. I mean, it never saw the light of day, and we were promised that in beta. You know, it's so the potential is pretty much the unicorn at the end of the rainbow that you're chasing after, and you never really get to it. A lot of games will never see that potential, and that's really what you got to watch is how responsive these developers are. Are they listening to feedback, or are they just listening to the crybabies? You know, there's always going to be whiners. People who don't have their easy mode have to have their easy mode. If the game company's listening to those guys, you're going to watch this MMO just rapidly destroy itself. They need to be looking at the people who have the experience and know what they're talking about these things. There has to be challenge in an MMO. If there's not, there's no real memory-making experience for players. It's just easy. I mean, do you remember the fight that you just kind of march into a room and the guy dies? Do you remember that mob's name? No, you don't. You would remember, you know, the dragons of DOC. If you took one of them down, you would definitely remember it. You know, same thing with the massive bosses in WoW. I mean, you would remember those experiences, but you won't remember the 100th time that you've taken them down. A lot of MMOs are taking out that challenge, and you know, you'll see that with game developers is that they'll start catering towards you that want everything easy. So if you see that trend, you know, it's time to start looking at other options. I mean, I've been in enough and seen enough destroy themselves that, you know, if you base your entire experience on potential, you're going to be sorely mistaken and disappointed every time.
Absolutely. And we've had a question thrown out at us by Gustav, aka Ryakachi, from, believe it or not, Afterlife Gaming, someone who happens to know Screenager, so we get to pick on him, who threw the question out at me. The way I said that, how can you be sure that when you take or challenge your community to play another game together until things have changed, that they will come back to the original goal? I will be honest, you have to be adaptive and fluid. When it comes to community, you have to be. Because we may go, in our particular case, what I'm talking about is we were playing COV and we were waiting for something very specific to come out, and we went back to World of Warcraft until we had the architects show up. And then once the architects showed up, we traversed back into the game. But that worked for us. It's not going to work for everybody. You have to listen to what's going on. I mean, if you have a community and you're waiting for a game to release its potential, release the Kraken, so to speak, of that game, and it never comes into fruition, like Foghladha was just saying, what we can end up with is a really bad situation. But if you have a situation where they do, say, produce the Kraken, and you have what you were looking for show up, and you guys are playing another game, if the guild is more interested in that game, there's no need to do a transition. You can just play the game that you've migrated to. Because I know some people are looking at migrating from, say, WildStar to ArcAge. There's nothing wrong with that. There's also other people who are looking to migrate from WildStar to back to Warlords of Draenor when it comes out, because that's what they're waiting for. I mean, there's so many things. It's the communities themselves and being adaptive in that community. And that's not an easy thing to do, because you can get it really wrong. Really, really, really wrong. But if you just sit there and do nothing and you become stagnant, you've basically screwed yourselves over. And would you guys agree with that?
You go first. I'll respond after you.
It's a very careful balance. I mean, you really got to watch it, though, because one of the trends I'm seeing more and more is that you get gamers in your community that literally have the gamer version of ADHD, and they have what we like to call the ooh shiny syndrome. And every new game that's coming out is like the best thing they've ever seen, and they're trying to convince everybody that this is the game that you need to play. And, you know, I've seen guys jump 10, 15 games in just the 2 years that we've been playing, you know, Guild Wars 2. It's amazing how, you know, as soon as they get into that game, all of a sudden they're interested in the next one, and then the next one. If you follow those guys, you're going to be in a world of hurt, because you're going to be stripping down that community 50% every time you take a hop. And pretty soon you'll find out that you have nothing. So you really got to kind of balance it between, you know, what the long-lasting members of your community that have been playing with you want to do, aside from the people that are just excited over every new game on the horizon. So,
Blank?
I'm gonna wait. Kind of have a little side direction.
Okay.
So,
Screen!
go ahead,
It's all on you! This is from your guild member!
Sorry, what did he say? I don't usually just tell him to do stuff. I'm I don't really pay that much attention to. But all honesty, yes, it is hard. There's a number of things you've got to take into account, really, and every community has different ways of doing things. At the end of the day, as it stands at the moment, for example, we've got. I mean, with Arcade just coming out. Let's be straight about it. Right now, we are in an evaluation period with WildStar. We are at our exit evaluation stage at the moment, and we have had a major change in tact away from PvP because of the whole PvP gear system being broken, the bracketing for PvP matches, all that kind of stuff. But the thing that I know is that if I end up feeling that WildStar's not cutting it, and there has been a huge drop off. Let's be honest, I have lost 50% of our launch roster with WildStar, 50%. So we take your standard thought. For anyone that's watched that show in the past, when you launch into a game with a roster, you usually expect maybe 30-40% drop off. 40% is the most. When you're topping 50% up, there's something fundamentally wrong either with what you're doing or with the way the game is providing content. But the thing that I know is that if we ended up deciding to move to WildStar, irrespective of our exit strategy, our focus would be the same. And the thing that we find, it's not necessarily that we need to run all communities, but we have a consistent focus on the type of game that we play. So we always tend to play PvP. We always tend to focus towards large-scale group PvP content. So an example of that, respectively, would be Aeon and Abyss sieges. We used to be great at that. We still love doing that with lots of other guilds. World v World and Guilds Wars 2, we ran that for. In fact, we've still got people playing it casually at the moment. Star Wars was PvP based. We went into it hoping that Ilum would give us large-scale PvP. It didn't really, and hence why we left it fairly quickly. WildStar with Warpots again was a focus for us, which obviously hasn't come to fruition in the same sort of content. Doesn't provide quite the same content that we were expecting in terms of that. So hence why we're currently in an evaluation state. As it stands, there's a consistent gameplay type in terms of our focus. We move to another game, we would hopefully be in a position that we'll be focusing on gameplay types that our members would be looking to play. They've played those sort of things in previous games, they're moving with us to play them in other games. So we're providing them the same sort of players, the same sort of game type that they want. Maybe the games have changed, the mechanics have changed, the whole world's changed, the meta's changed, but at the end of the day, the people are the same and the experience is consistent enough that they're going to want to move with us, or at least try to move with us and see if they like the game. So that's something to bear in mind if you are moving game, is if you're moving game, be consistent in what you're providing players, because to some extent. If you move from a PvP game type and then go, right, we're going to play PvE, 20-man raids, nobody's going to move with you. Nobody's really going to be interested in that, because you've already got a group of players over here that were interested in, say, PvP, and you've got a group, you're trying to bring them over to play a different game type and a different game. And, old man Blankspace will tell you, change scares people, so don't give them too much.
Change is terrifying for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. But now, Blank, the torch has been passed to you.
We're going to dance around this as best as I can here, but I do get the honor and privilege of getting to see games as they change and develop. And I had this conversation on my stream a couple days ago, and I'm going to kind of hash it here. Games are paid for by companies that want to have their money back, and there are a lot of different ways to do that. So, the marketing folks say, we can, oh god, what was that one that just came out with the really pretty graphics? Elder Scrolls. Elder Scrolls put crap tons of money into their nice little videos they put out. They didn't put half of that crap into development. When I see little things like that, I don't even go near them. Neverwinter was another one. Everyone was like, you should check it out. No. Why? I talked to the developers. I've seen the direction. Now, you can hear, like, WildStar has it's the devs are listening. Well, that's changed. It really should say some devs are listening sometimes, and some devs listen if you kiss their ass. That also has changed. There are red flags that happen, and you have to decide, when your exit is going to happen. I'm still holding on to a little bit of hope for WildStar, but kind of like Ben had said, it is kind of holding on to the unicorn's horn, man. It's not really there. I just keep kind of hoping something does change, especially since half the combat team disappeared, and there's one guy who's running it now who's worth a damn, and that's what I like to play games for. Everybody, most people here, you can watch somebody do PvE, and yeah, it's fun and challenging, but there's nothing like smashing someone's face in a game. Like
in a responsible game environment. And might I just chuck in before anyone from Carbine and NCSoft think that we're completely dicking all over WildStar here. The guys that are currently working on PvP, complete respect for them. But you've not currently got the product that we were promised in the first place, and it's a hard place to start from.
Well, we started with this beautiful. Look, wow, I'm sticking with the unicorn. They gave us 40 man
You're
war
sticking
plots.
with the unicorn for a particular reason, aren't you?
No, just because it works well. And then they were like, well, we can't do 20 mans. That's a red flag. Why are we cutting something? Okay, because there's a focus somewhere else, blah, blah, blah. So the horn comes off. And then it's like, well, we were going to have X many battlegrounds, but we're only going to have 2. And then maybe when the game comes out, we'll drop the 3rd. You're like, oh, okay. Then a month before the game comes out, they change the entire PvP system, drop a whole bunch of stats, and then are like, deal with it. That's the big dude. All that you're looking for is for those things to change. And any development company, not just WildStar, they make their choices on how they're going to respond to communities and guilds and things like that. And they haven't. And other communities, they won't. Other game companies, they just won't. That's normally their MO. They just don't. You have to make the decision on what you want to do. Do I really want to wait 3 months for a section of the game that I enjoy, doesn't matter what game it is, to be fixed? Yes, there's something to be said for supporting that alpha game that's coming out, that's indie, that's Kickstarter, whatever. But when somebody's footing a bill millions and millions of dollars that I'm then helping pay for and subscribe for and all of this, do I really want to wait 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months for them to put that in? They have a priority list. Every developer, it's a business. There is a list of what gets to go in, what's important. And if those things that we love is not at the top of that list, why should we continue to stay? Any game. I'm not just saying WildStar. And that's why I play several different MMOs right now. I play a bunch of different games because I haven't found that one that just keeps me, some people can play, I don't know how, but they can play Hearthstone all day, every day, for the rest of their lives. They literally, I see these people stream the game, and I'm like, I don't know how this is a thing. Like, I couldn't just do that all day, but people can. A lot of folks that play MMOs are looking for PvE or PvP to be engaging, fun, fair, and balanced as much as possible. And a lot of people get told one thing, and it doesn't end up happening. And it's the struggle we're in now. Because you know what it is? We're talking about change. Oh, guess what? Hey, don't worry about it. Desert Rose, or whatever the hell this next game, that one's coming out, man. Oh, then this game's coming out. This next game, let's hop on the MMO treadmill for a bit and just play the next big one that comes out. I don't know about you, but having to even have a campfire about exit strategies for MMOs is just frustrating to me. That this is a thing,
I think we're getting segued slightly into the things that are wrong with MMOs rather than the exit strategies here. I think we best move away from this topic.
There is something to be said for that. But at the same time, when it comes to the campfire, we are sort of a group therapy sort of session for ourselves. So obviously, this is a sore topic for a reason, apparently. And it's probably because we're going through it, for at least you guys are going through it right now. So you feel the pain and the difficulty of having to make choices, which you may not want to make. You may find yourself sitting there going, this really sucks that I am actually at this point where a game has come out, it's been out for X amount of time, and now I have to make this decision. It's not a fun decision to make. It's not. And it's not an easy one. Now, I mean, we have Foghladha saying if you have your checklist of what you're looking for specifically in a game for your community, it will help you. But again,
Right.
as he's also pointed out, and I love having him on the show, he's great. As he's also pointed out, just because the game checks certain tick boxes in your Excel spreadsheet, there are other spreadsheet softwares out there, just because it ticks all the boxes there doesn't mean that when your boots hit the ground in that digital world, what you're expecting is what you're going to get. So that's even another, problem. I mean, picking a game for what your community plays is going to be difficult. And this is not one of those simple, oh, someone said, he said, she said drama type things. This is something that inevitably could ultimately change the culture of your community. It could completely change everything. Now, we've let poor Foghladha not say anything for a while we let you guys have your soapboxes. And I've let you have your soapboxes because, like I said, I do feel it's okay for us to vocalize our frustrations. That's the point of the campfire.
I can just hear Mizfa just screaming internally right now as he has to deal with the PR fallout with studios. It's like, yep, they're not talking to us now. They're not talking to us now. They're not talking. Right, okay, so we have 3 people talking to us. Thanks, guys.
No, that's the thing. You don't hear me complaining. I'm perfectly content with the PvE in WildStar, but that's the focus of my community. My community is focused on pushing to get to the 40-man raid bosses. That's where our drive is. And we're not suffering on that level. Yes, I have heard people complain that PvP could be a lot better than what it is, but still.
From the soapbox
my point is, my point is, this is the thing. When it comes to a game, it makes no difference what game you're looking at. It's what your community is looking for and whether or not your community is having those boxes tick. So for you guys, we have screens saying, I'm looking at exit strategies. You're having to make decisions. That's not even on the forefront of even in my realm of what I need to look at in the next 3 months kind of a deal. That's not even there for me to have to deal with. Because right now where I'm at, my community's particular goals in Excel spreadsheet are being ticked.
This is what I will say. I'm not trashing anybody. When you buy Counter-Strike or Hearthstone, the game that you get is the one you're expecting to play. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get into a match with 5 other people. I'm going to pick the game type that I want, and I'm going to go in, and we're going to shoot each other, and whoever wins, wins. When I play Hearthstone, I play against another person. I pick the game type that I want. I play, and I win or lose. MMOs don't fit that box. So when your game type is broken, now imagine, we'll take Hearthstone. Imagine one of your game types is broken that you enjoy. I like to do arena in Hearthstone. I like to do competitive ranked games in Counter-Strike, and they launched a new set and it was not there. People would lose their nuts. It would be unacceptable. People would be upset about it. That's all that I'm discussing in general.
Yeah, it's a general statement.
That is what causes people to say, I'm done. Not as many people would be playing Hearthstone or any other game type if the parts that they enjoyed about it or the additional things that are there were broken or unable to be played the way they are now. And it would be different, if I was running a 5-man Counter-Strike team, cool. Oh, this archetype's broken, I'll go play some. I don't have to play competitive today, man. We'll do some practice runs.
See, that's the thing. But we also have to state, and this is for your poor benefit screen, when it comes to discussing anything on the campfire, we have to go from personal experience. We have to pull from the things that we have been through. And it just so happens that this particular topic seems to sort some of the things that people are
I know. But you
know something?
I just felt
Hold on. You know something?
Right. Anyway, no, I just worry that we're segueing down the soapbox route and we're just kind of like, hi, here's our guest. We're just going to ignore him now. And I
was going to try and take it to him, but you seem to want the soap bob back. So I was going to take it there.
Hey, this is entertaining.
Ben, I have a question for you.
Entertaining for you, right?
No, listen, Ben, I have a question for you. Do you have, within Goshkia, because I remember looking at the website basically, and congratulations on the, I'm certainly going to say it later, but congratulations. I'm wondering, are you guys in a certain genre, or are you guys spread? Like, if I came to you and said, I'd like to do something with you folks, do you guys have a Dota 2 side? Do you have, Counter-Strike? Or do you have a specific area that you sit in?
The Gacha core is only in fantasy genre games. Usually we shy away from games that start getting the modern to futuristic. So the Warhammer, Rift, Guild Wars 2, Elder Scrolls Online, Dark Age Camelot are pretty much our only branches in existence ever. That's pretty much how we do Gashia as a brand, is we really focus it in on 1 or 2 games. And the only reason we're writing 2 right now is because Sanctuary Raw, which is our server in Guild Wars 2, was named after one of our members. So we kind of keep that torch lit until they decide to blow it out. So we're going to continue to be on Sanctuary Raw until like the end of time, or they shut it down. So, but like Elder Scrolls right now is very this whole topic really hits home, because it's if you play Elder Scrolls Online, you know about the bugs, you know about the lag, you know about how there's God mode players out there, and if you're an AVA, you can watch one guy wipe out 100. It's pretty miserable, but then the whole hope, the hope comes in hoping that something gets better. But from your experience, everything that you've seen has told you that things don't get better. They just start getting worse and worse and worse, and they start running the treadmill downward. So we're in a situation now where we're starting to grow again, which is nice. But when we came out the gate, we literally lost about 60% of our population when we hit ESO. It was insane. And now we've kind of changed our tactics a little bit, reformatted how we're doing things, and starting to grow again, which is good. But yeah, it's really one of those things. We only do the fantasy games. We focus on 2. We do have a Sager program, which is where you can go form up a guild called Sager and use our members to basically populate it. And people, like with WildStar, we got a crew of people playing WildStar together. We got a crew playing Final Fantasy together. We have people doing the Arcade thing together. But we don't use the Gashia brand because we want to protect the reputation.
So what I'd say is that there is more than one way of doing that. I mean, Gashia very much are very centered. They have the community in general, but the brands used them in one kind of central game. If you put Guild Wars 2 to one side, whereas what we do is we'll make a call on our exit strategy. So I won't go into specific details about the exit strategy. What we will do is that a lot of our decision on staying in a game particularly will focus on the drivers in the game. The way I say the drivers, I mean there are people in particular within communities who are the most active, the most vocal, the guys that will step up and they generally tend to be the raid leads or the PvE community event organisers or the guild leads. And in Aeon, those people were particularly, when we decided that a large group of us wanted to move off, the guild leads wanted to move off, there were still a number of drivers that wanted to stay in the game. They still wanted to use the guild name, and that we felt were in a position that when we moved out of the game, it would be in good hands. And that's when we moved into a multi-guild community. And that's a strategy we've taken when we exit a game. Not everyone wants to exit a game. And if you're comfortable and you have the right people in place when you exit people from a game, then it's not unreasonable to be able to keep a guild open within a game that you say yourself are not directly managing as a community lead, but that you have a good established relationship with a framework in place for good communication with that guild, and that you're comfortable that the brand is still within your, well, you say brand, but say you are in that situation, the brand's still within your control, or that just the community is open and happy. It depends how much control you want over the guild name when you leave a game, but importantly, if you want to keep a guild open within a game, or you want to allow people to still use the guild name when you leave, you can do it. It just depends how you want that represented, how much control you want over the guild, and what criteria you put in place when you exit the guild to keep an active community in the game. As it stands at the moment, what we tend to do is in Aeon, we've still got a reasonably big community. It's relative. What tends to happen when we when we move out of game is that we tend to set it to an inactive status. So we go, right, you can be social, that's fine. We're still announcing, we make it public we're leaving the game. We say we're going inactive. People are allowed to keep the guild name. People, if they want to run the guild and still continue it within our framework, then they do, and they have that PvP site focus. I'm there for them. The guild will provide them with, you know, cash, support, advice, whatever they need. So the community will provide the guild with that, and then they can continue to drive it. But however, in the same vein, the game and its community in general know that me or my officers have gone out and said, right, we're inactive. We are leaving. The core of the guild is leaving. Anyone you see in the game is inactive at that stage, and we manage from arm's length, and that's the way we've always done it. And what that does is, to some extent, that leaves us. It's a double-edged sword. You have to balance off whether you're going to ostracize people with the whole prospect that you're going to split your group as well. So you could leave a game, close a guild up, those people could disperse and leave completely, not come back. At the same time, you leave people that option of feeling like they're in the community and they can migrate to one game at any point in time they like, or they can float in and out, and you keep quite an active membership across a number of games. On the other hand, you've got that problem, like Ben said, that Gasioch managed to get around, where you potentially might end up splitting your core in two different directions. So you have to be aware of that. We've not always kept guilds open. We've only kept them open when our exit strategist said there's a good number of people, the right people are in place to continue this. And so we've got Aeon are still open. Guild Wars 2 guilds inactive but still open because the right people are in place to continue to manage that, even if it's inactive and there aren't a huge number of people playing it. It's still active enough that there's still stuff to do and they can still do things, and the right, as I say, the right core drivers are there to continue to manage that. SWTOR though just closed down. Wasn't the right people in place. We didn't have the right drivers in place that wanted to continue to play it. We didn't have a critical mass. There wasn't people that wanted to do PvP that were still in the game, and we just took we just folded it straight over, and we weren't keeping it open. So you can do more than one thing. Just depends on how you leave a game and what you leave when you exit a game.
Right. I've just happened to notice the time. So what I'm going to say is there's a heck of a lot that needs to be covered when it comes to talking about change within a game, whether you were migrating games or whether you were just having to deal with any change that a game throws at you, because it's a two-way street. So do you guys have anything in particular you want to say about change that you want to make certain we get into this episode? Because this is one of those topics that can span quite a few episodes. But we'll see what ends up happening. And while we wait, do pay attention to the screen. Something has just come up. Yay. So, go ahead. Say your pieces.
I was just going to say that, watch the horizon, see the change, adapt to the change, and thrive while others survive. That's kind of like our motto that we've rolled with. At the end of the day, gaming is about having fun. And if you're not having fun, it's going to be time to move on. So, you just got to keep your community together, keep them focused, realize that every time you make a jump, you're going to lose people. Don't take it to heart. That's going to happen. The games are not for everybody. It's just going to be home to a few. And you got to build up from there. Realize that when a game launches, you're going to have a huge population. After a month, 2 months, that population is probably going to be about half what it was. And then you're going to grow from that structure because those are the people that actually want to keep playing this game. So, just persevere. Try to be a month or 2 months ahead of schedule on whatever you're planning. So look down the road, see what the developers are doing, get involved in the alphas, the betas. When games go live, get involved in the public tests. Kind of see where that game is going before everyone else does, because you're going to have to be the person that ushers you through those changes. So that's my best advice.
Excellent. Anything from you, Blank?
Change is inevitable. Make sure that you have your hard lines that I just saw the screen get full.
Magic! I do it.
Know what those are, and don't change them. I still think there's something fun about chasing a unicorn. I think maybe sometimes I do that a little too much, but be ready to hop to the next big thing, but just like Ben just said, look at what's coming up in the future. Get in early to these tests, and hopefully you get to be a part of helping things be in that direction that you're looking for. And I guess that is one of the things I'm a huge sucker for, is you know, oh, I've done this game. I played it for a year and a half before it came out, and then it launched, and you know, I still played it. It's still rewarding. It's still awesome to be a part of. I guess that's all I gotta say. I said everything else, right? Right, Screen?
You know, I'm gonna take a slightly different tack to this, in that change does happen, and to understand your community when you're dealing with change, be it when a game changes, so you can know when your players' direction changes, whether they're having fun, whether that changes, so that when you decide to change something, that you can get good feedback from them. At the end of the day, if you are in charge, or supposed to be in charge of a community, you need to be in touch with those people that are going to be affected by your changes or the changes that come from within a game. Have a good exit strategy. That's always going to be something that I'm going to be hammering on about. Always have an exit strategy. When you close a guild, know what you're going to do. It can be one of the most disruptive things that can happen in a game. And finally, don't get enticed by the bright, shiny lights of beta. Just because it's the next game doesn't mean you need to jump ship. If you enjoy the game you're playing, don't jump ship just for the next game because it's new. Understand what you play. Understand what you want to do. If the game's providing it for you, then don't just jump ship for no reason. What the hell are you doing?
We are at a point in our show where it's obvious for us to get to the end of our show, which basically means Blank has got on a trolling spree. And I have to state, for my own final bits of information, when it comes to having to deal with change and exiting a game, you know, don't be afraid to turn to other guild leaders that you know and say, what do you think? Because if you've never done it before, it can be the most terrifying thing in the world. But I do also want to stress, don't take to heart if you lose members, if you change games. Seriously, it's not you they have a problem with. They may not like the direction the community is going, or they may just want to stay in the game that you're happening to leave. But don't take it personal or as a personal offense or assault towards yourself, because that's not what's happening. Unless you're the one who says, you know, screw you all, I'm going home. You know, y'all can just screw yourselves, in which case, yeah, there is a serious problem and stuff like that. But other than that, we now get to sit back and troll for just a tiny bit of time before we say goodbye. So, yay, trolling. Go for it. By the way, Blank, do you have a top hat?
I have a Batman mask. I've got a pink cowboy hat. No, I don't have a top hat.
We need to get you a top hat. You look like Abe Lincoln.
That's
Redheaded Abe Lincoln.
no.
Bearded Abe Lincoln.
No. That's...
You've got the long face with the very awesome beard and the lovely mustache. If you got rid of the mustache, you'd very much look like Abe Lincoln. But
No, I don't see it. No. It was good though. You know, the funny part is, if I had a picture of my old man, he actually looked like Abe Lincoln. Like, I'm a softer featured. He looked like Abe Lincoln.
I'm a softer, kinder, more gentle and approachable version of Abe Lincoln.
Sans top hat, obviously.
Wow, of all things to throw in there, Gustav. Unbelievable. Seriously? Really?
Oh, if we're admitting random stuff, I've got a bunch of, you know, fun things to throw in there. I've got
okay. Admit one random thing.
I have a pair of very awesome Batman underwear that have a cape on the back. Yeah.
Wait, the underwear itself has a cape?
On the back.
That's a little creepy.
You're all welcome.
This is nothing.
Batman in the front,
underwear, nothing.
cape in the back. Woo!
He says a cape. He just means something he can unbutton to shit out of.
No, it's a cape. Like I wish I could actually. I will show you when the show is over, but it has like
He's gonna get a bum. He's gonna have underwear with a bum flap in it. Do you know it's gonna be true?
Great. What about you, Benjamin? You got any random things you can admit to?
Nothing to do with butt capes, but that's a little way out
Butt
there.
capes. It's a thing. We went there.
Wow.
Yeah. No. I got nothing to match that. That's pretty good.
What about you, Screen? You've obviously got to have something hidden in the closet besides skeletons.
No, he's got it all out already. We can see the dresses he wears around all day. So.
I didn't say it.
Wait,
Don't
what?
growl at me. Sorry, Blink's laugh is making me laugh.
I just imagine
dear.
him waltzing around with just the dress on and that little whatever. I can't really see whatever that little thing is. Just la 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 around his house.
Hold on, let me find.
Uh-oh.
We have to cut the show. Just cut the show. Just cut the show before we get in trouble. What are you doing? Oh
I'm
goodness.
really curious as to what he's planning on doing now.
I'm trying to find the Sailor Moon tiara.
You have a Sailor
There's
Moon?
a Sailor Moon tiara back here somewhere.
Come on, don't lie. We all know it's right on your desk, dude. Just go back and pick it up. We all know it's right in front of you, like I keep my D right here. Come on, we all know yours is right there.
What the heck is that?
That was part of a Sailor Moon tiara. Although it's not mine, in fairness, so that's kind of a bit of shit.
Oh,
Oh, we're still being random in the Gosh Kia magazine. Ben, you look suave in that first picture. Just so
the editor thing?
Oh, right?
Yeah. Speaking
My
of,
sister has that effect on people. She's a photographer.
Just saying. Suave, dapper.
saying.
Throw those there. I was like, who's this guy? Oh, wait. This is nice.
speaking of,
Very nice of
everybody should go here, like ASAP, and like read the entire thing, like forever.
I'm actually I'm looking
From,
through it
from
right
back
now.
to front, right now.
Like right now, like yeah. Screw everything else. Read it right now, like forevers and for reals. And
This
stuff.
is what happens. Josie hangs out with me, and now she's ordering people around. Old Josie, before the campfire, would have been like, oh, love and peace, happiness. If you want to, go look at this magazine. And she's hanging out with us for a couple months now. She's like, go to this magazine, mother truckers, and read this right now and put down whatever you're doing.
I am so not like that at all.
You just ordered people. Ordered them.
Except
I said go
except
does
when
it. And I did it in a funny manner. That's not to be taken as a serious set of instructions
Oh.
to be followed.
Oh, it was cereal.
It was zero. He says as he chugs from the carton
Super.
again. If you don't know how to
Totally
read about it, and
professional
have
show
someone read it to you. In
You could
fact,
hire Josie.
I was about to
There's
say,
the question.
hire me.
No.
I'll happily read it out to you. I'll go through
There-
every page and point it all out. And then we're done. And I will probably have to bleep this, but it'll be so worth saying it. I will happily read to you, go the fuck to bed. So, yes, there you
You're
go.
gonna have to bleep
I will
that
read your
after all this.
magazine for the Gosh Gift for the people who can't read. I'll read it to them, and then I'll read them a story, the bedtime story, go to fuck to sleep. Sorted.
Wow, and there was me gonna ask if Gassy Hutch were just gonna do an audio version, but all right.
That's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. It's an insane
Gosh,
amount
he
of
doesn't
work.
support lazy. We don't support lazy. So if you're lazy, you hate us. I mean, that's just
Not
the way it
even,
is.
not even
I
for
don't
the
have-
casual reader,
I don't have enough time
the
as it
social
is.
reader.
Having to add extra stuff for lazy people just drives me insane.
It could be no. Listen, you have marketing here. You're going to provide an additional service for those who would like to subscribe for every magazine, an additional audio rendition of the entire magazine read, and then by random people. See, they're much
But
better.
then you got to get the random people to do it.
Anybody, yeah, your homeless
Blank will
guy.
do it.
You
Blank will do it fine.
Dude,
Yeah,
I'll do it right
Blank
now.
will do it.
No, I was going to say, you could have a rendition and tag it Scottish and let Screen read it.
Oh my God. That would be
All
terrible.
you'll get is yeah. Oh,
People would be like, "What is this guy saying?"
People would be like, "Wait, I'm supposed to get cancer?"
Oh my God.
Okay,
Oh,
I have to
no.
actually make a reference to this because people won't have any clue what I'm talking about. And poor Screen, I don't mean to pick on you. I feel really bad now. Poor Screen, unfortunately, is trying to get everything sorted
Why
for
would you
Gamescom.
feel bad?
I feel bad for picking
why
on
would-
you. I just do.
Why would you feel what?
Because I'm that way.
What sort of troll are you, women? Do you do it right?
Okay, I said so much about her and made her think about it, and now she's like, "Oh no, I can't troll. I'm so sorry. I'm about to troll you.
I'll
I'll
start to blush.
send you
Stop
a
it.
card, and I'll tell you how sorry I am. Can I get your mailing address, please?"
Oh, stop it. You're making me blush really bad because it's true. I feel really bad. Oh God, this is horrible. Oh man, but see, earlier before the show, we were talking about Screen Gems making
Everyone's
his way to
forgotten.
Gamescom.
No one cares anymore.
I
Nope,
care
Just stop.
because it involves
Nope,
a cat. Where's
Listen,
your cat?
write up something and you can post it somewhere later. You've
Yeah.
already taken like so much
Publish a
time.
retraction. It's
Yes, I'm sorry.
I have to respond to somebody in chat. I am trying to go to troll school. These guys are trying to educate me on being a troll. I have successfully trolled across all over 100 shows on MMOBuff, of which I've been a part of all but like 6. One time I successfully trolled, and I had to stop the show and tweet about it, and that was against Blank Space a couple weeks ago. It was just
pretty
like,
good.
oh my gosh, I did it! It was amazing, and I had to stop the show and then tweet about it, and it was great. And yeah,
As soon as your trophy comes in, I'll be sending it to you. So
sure. Oh yes, Dr. Marshmallows is great. Oh, he hardcore trolls me. There's no two ifs, ands, or buts about that, but that's okay because it adds light and fun entertainment. And I'm not a good troll. Are you a good troll, Benjamin?
No, well, I don't know. Some people say I'm pretty good at it, just in the fact that I usually troll people in a way that they don't know that they're being trolled, so they end up trolling themselves.
wow, trollception.
I was just about to say that's
Trollception.
incredible, but that sort of reminds me of if you're going to troll someone, try and do it intellectually anyway, because otherwise it's
Well, a lot of times you can get them to hang themselves with it, so that's fine.
I just like to be massively obvious. Those are the ones that I just really enjoy when mostly when you're like, so the sun is yellow, and I'm like, no, listen guys, we need to stop everything, breaking, to those, because that to me is like wicked funny, because I do them all the time, and I make fun of myself because it's ridiculous. I mean, you say something so massively obvious, you're like, did I just say that? I did. I need to just okay. I'm done talking. So what were you guys? Yeah, what? So those are my favorite, but people like Ben are the ones that scare me because it's like, fuck. Oh, you gotta bleep that too. Is he? I think this is a thing. Yeah, it's a thing. But it takes you a minute. Like, you have to, you gotta let it process.
you're being trolled. I'm supposed to tell you the sun's orange.
Don't listen to Ben. He has issues. There's something wrong with him.
Does he have
He's got
magazine racks full of issues? Are some of those issues the Goshkia magazine?
Probably not. That would be on his Kindle.
That wasn't a troll. That was just
No.
really bad.
It just
That was really bad.
No,
I
that
would
was
be ashamed.
bad.
I
Right.
wouldn't even.
So we gotta turn the show off now because
because I fail. I take full responsibility for the failing of the campfire this evening.
I got my violin. Oh, it's really small.
I'm surprised you
That-
went
that
out of the
was
way to
bad.
get the violin and just didn't get a mouth harp.
No, it was huge, but then I made it really small just because. So
Wow, that could have been taken completely out of context. So
Yay. So for those of you who are looking for some free stuff, we are going to be giving away something on tomorrow's Blizzard forecast. You're going to want to be there. And for those of you who are into art, put your D down. Oh my gosh, what is wrong with my co-hosts?
Yeah,
I've
you're
got
the
one
best
stroking
ones.
his cat, and I've got one with a D on his chest.
did you really say that?
Vietnamese boys.
Wow. Is your cat just going to sit on you?
Yep.
Awesome. So, if you're an artist and interested in getting into game design, you are going to want to be here Thursday at 1 p.m. UK time. That's all I'm going to say. Other than that, we have some very special stuff happening throughout the week. I did put up what is going to be occurring on MMO Buff this week, but of course, sizing. We're still working out all the details. We've got stuff coming. On that note, leaves me to say thank you so much, Foghladha, for joining us, or Fole, or Benjamin.
All of the above. Thanks for having me. It's been great.
You got a chance to just watch us be idiots. That's basically what it was.
Hey, it's entertaining. I can't complain. So.
Oh,
Well, at least it's cheaper than a box of matches and a can of gasoline.
oh wow. But yes, and our final thing is for me to say thank you so much to my co-hostesses with the mostesses, and that'd be the blank space.
Bye, folks. See you next week. Or if you watch the forecast, I'll see you tomorrow.
And to the
Nobody
screenager.
watches that. Nobody watches that.
To the screenager. Say bye-bye, screen. Wow. Just let me just get a pair of pliers and bloody pull your teeth here. Good God. Just say bye-bye.
You can't play pool with pliers.
I'm not talking about billiards. I'm talking about your mouth. You know these things here? What? Why are you even bothering with this? I bite my thumb at these, sir. Intellectual versions of insulting someone, because apparently that's an insult. Anyway, goodbye, everybody. Diddle pip. What is wrong with you guys?